King Inge Krokrygg lies dead on the ice outside of Oslo. His most trusted military leader having met the same fate several miles east. And Håkon Herdebrei is now the one true king of Norway. Together with his right-hand man, Jarl Sigurd Halvarsson, they have the foundation to make a kingdom that can...
Wait, what? He's already dead? But how... What? But... Oh... Okay. Let's go back a bit.
Back to around the year 1150. Let us tell the tale of Erling Skakke. I told you not to forget him. Welcome to the third part of the Norwegian Civil Wars. Erling was the son of Orm Sveinsson, the head of a wealthy and powerful family on the west of Norway. Orm had two sons, the oldest Ogmund and the younger Erling. Erling was described as living in the shadow of his older brother Ogmund for most of his younger life. One can almost imagine him yearning for a way to prove himself, a chance to really show what he was made of. And it turns out that chance was right around the corner. His big break came when he, from 1153 to 1155, joined his good friend, the Jarl of Orkney, Ragnvald Kale, on a crusade to the Holy Land. Here, away from his brother, he managed to really prove what he was worth. Like when he boarded a Muslim ship outside of Sardinia, he was hit in the throat with a weapon that made him carry his head a little crooked. This gave him the nickname Erling Skakke. Skakke being translated to crooked. Yes, on this crusade Erling got to see most of the Holy Land, but beyond that even France, Spain, Rome and Constantinople. When he finally returned in 1155, he got married to Kristin Sigurdsdatter. Kristin Sigurdsdatter was daughter of the great crusader king Sigurd Markusfostre.
This made her the sister of Magnus Blinde and the niece of Harald Gille and allegedly Sigurd Slembe. This also made her the cousin of the three brother kings.
She was also the cousin of King Valdemar the Great of Denmark. This made her a key political piece in the Civil War period. Now, I do not want to imply that women in history's only worth are the men they are related to. Sadly though, it seems that men of the medieval ages thought of it like that. But Kristin will prove her worth beyond nepotism many times during our story. Together with Erling, they had the son Magnus. Was Magnus named after Kristin's brother, Magnus Blinde? Erling Skakke quickly becomes one of the most trusted men in Inge Krokrygg's court in his battle against his two brothers and later Håkon Herdebrei. But he is yet again put in the shadow of another, Gregorius Dagsson. Erling and Gregorius were described as polar opposites, where Gregorius was outgoing and hot-headed in battle. Erling was calm, closed off and calculated. This led to the two, more often than not, butting heads with each other. This all led to a breaking point, when, in the summer of 1160, King Inge Krokrygg traveled to Bergen to gather his forces to prepare for the ongoing battles with Håkon Herdebrei in Götaland. Here, Erling and Gregorius became angry with each other, which led to a bloody fight between them and their men. King Inge Krokrygg just barely managed to get the two to reach an agreement, but Erling did not travel with his troops eastward that winter. Would Inge and Gregorius have fallen if Erling had been there with his troops? The following winter, Inge and Gregorius were dead, and Håkon Herdebrei becomes the one true king of Norway. In the wake of his king's death, Erling acts quickly to gather a resistance against Håkon Herdebrei. He gathers the allegiance of Inge's lords and his royal guard, as well as the men of Gregorius. This group of people would later be referred to as the Lendmanns Party by historians, and is said to be the precursor to the Bagler faction. Together they decide that Erling's son, Magnus Erlingsson, is to become king, as he has the best claim to the throne among them. He is later named king in a council in Bergen. Magnus was 5 years old at the time. Meanwhile, Kristin is still in Oslo. Right before the battle where King Inge Krokrygg would die, he made Kristin promise to take care of Inge's corpse if he should fall in battle. Kristin kept her promise, but that wasn't all she did. In the time after Inge's burial, Kristin would bribe the local priest for the priest key. This way she could send one of her men to spy on Håkon Herdebrei and Sigurd Halvarsson's meetings and inform her husband of their plans. Despite all this, Erling Skakke was not yet sure he could defeat Håkon and his men, so he took a boat and traveled to Denmark. The king of Denmark at the time, Valdemar the Great, was the cousin of Kristin Sigurdsdatter, and it is said that they were very good friends. Valdemar had just years prior won his own little civil war when he became the one true king of Denmark in 1157. King Valdemar the Great would lend Erling his forces if he promised to give him Viken under Danish rule. This Erling agreed upon, and in the summer of 1162, Erling returned to Norway with a great Norwegian Danish army. When Sigurd Halvarsson, now Sigurd Jarl, and Håkon Herdebrei heard of this, they immediately fled to Nidaros in Trondheim. From here, they sailed south along the coast, and it was on a fateful day in July of 1162, the two forces would meet at the Battle of Sekken. Håkon Herdebrei's men were surprised when Erling Skakke's fleet suddenly came upon them right outside the island called Sekken. Håkon Herdebrei's fleet numbered 14 ships, while Erling's Norwegian-Danish fleet numbered 21. And it was in the heat of battle Håkon Herdebrei would meet his end. He was 15 years of age. Erling could finally relax. Now there was nothing standing in the way for him to, Magnus, to become the one true king of Norway. I'm sorry. What was that? Sigurd Jarl got away? And he's found a new person to set claim to the throne?
Sigurd Markusfostre.
Seems that at the Battle of Sekken, Sigurd Jarl manages to escape the clutches of Erling Skakke, and he flees east to his good friend Markus på skog, which literally translates to Markus at forest. Markus was the foster parent of Sigurd Markusfostre, another of Sigurdmund's children, and Sigurd Jarl quickly took him to become the new king of Norway, to oppose Erling's son's Magnus' claim to the throne. So now Sigurd is helping Sigurd, who is the son of Sigurd, become king. The new faction, led by Sigurd Jarl under Sigurd Markusfostre, had their main support in Oppland. Sigurd Jarl's army was great, which meant that there were many mouths to feed and many people to entertain. The smaller area Sigurd's faction now had support in made this a difficult task to uphold. This led to fighting and even outright thievery among Sigurd's men throughout the Oppland and Viken areas. They would keep growing more and more careless in their operations. Erling Skakke, the calculating tactician he was, used this to his advantage and used Sigurd's men's behavior to turn the Norwegian people against Sigurd Markusfostre, who eventually practically begged Erling to get rid of them. Erling would lay in wait at Tønsberg with a big army ready to strike, while scouts would try to pinpoint his enemy's location. Here he would wait for several months before one scout finally came with the news. The scout could report that Sigurd Jarl's forces would soon be at Re, northwest of Tønsberg, so Erling gave the signal for a full march to intercept them. And it was in February of 1163 the two forces of the two opposing parties would finally meet at the Battle of Re. Here, somewhere behind me, the two large forces would finally meet in a bloody battle. And it was here that Sigurd Jarl, the man who bested Gregorius and Inge Krokrygg and put Håkon Herdebrei on the throne and even managed to escape Erling Skakke, here that man would meet his end. And it's actually true. The battle was here. Like, before we went here, I was not sure where this battle actually was. I just knew it was somewhere in the Re area. But when we drove down here, I looked up and I found an NRK article that some archaeologists found arrowheads and spearheads with a metal detector from the medieval age, which indicates that the Battle of Re actually was here. Like what you see in front of you, like this is the actual place it happened. Like Sigurd Jarl could have like gotten a spear to the chest like over there. I mean, just look, there, it happened. Wow, isn't that amazing? And you can see the buildings from the article that I'm showing right now. They're there and you see them in the clip I'm showing, so you know I'm not lying. And one more thing, in the artwork I'm showing you right now, you can see the artist is depicting Erling Skakke and his forces crossing a river. And could that be this river? I mean, it looks crossable, and 1,000 years ago, probably less vegetation than it is now. And it's right by the field where the battle actually happened, so you be the judge. Promp. Erling's men had won, and now he could finally put his son as the one true... Oh, what is it now? Sigurd Markusfostre got away again? Oh my goodness. After Sigurd Jarl's death, Markus på Skog took the charge of Sigurd's remaining forces and fled to Hisingen in Konghelle. Erling was close behind, trying to finally finish what he started at the Battle of Sekken. But in Hisingen, Sigurd Markusfostre had the support of the farmers, so Erling had to content himself with taking Sigurd Markusfostre's ships. Markus på Skog would then take Sigurd Markusfostre to Trøndelag, where he would be crowned king at Øyrating. At Trøndelag, it is said that they gathered many able-bodied men, and before the 29th of September 1163, they sailed south, probably thinking they now were ready to finish off Erling Skakke once and for all. Nope. Right outside Bergen, the forces of Sigurd Markusfostre would be captured, where Sigurd Markusfostre would be beheaded and Markus på Skog would be hanged. Okay, for real this time. All opposing forces to Erling Skakke's son's claim to the throne was now vanquished. Erling had it good. He had a great wife who was the daughter of a great Norwegian king. They both had a lovely son who would soon be king, and he had gathered the support of almost all the people of Norway. There was only one problem. Magnus, Erling's son, was not the son of a Norwegian king. And the law of succession at the time clearly stated that to become king in Norway, you had to be the son of a Norwegian king. So how could Erling legitimize the claim of his son so Erling finally could become... so Magnus finally could become king of Norway? Well, you go to the masters of changing the law in your favor. The church! Enter Archbishop Øystein Erlendsson. Øystein has served as treasurer and priest in King Inge's court before being anointed archbishop in 1157.
He had great ambitions to act out the will of Pope Gregorius VII.
So when Erling came to him with a proposal, one can speculate that Øystein saw the opportunity for the church to gain more influence over Norway and the throne. Archbishop Øystein agrees to Erling's proposal, and in 1163 or 64, the archbishop crowns Magnus in the name of God. This would prove to be an important event that furthermore anchored Christianity as the one true religion in Norway.
Magnus Erlingsson was now the one true king of Norway.
The crowning of King Magnus led to a new law of succession that clearly stated that the first true-born son of a king would be the next in line. This gave the church way more power over the choice of who was going to be king, with the ideology being that the archbishop would instate the new king as the will of God. This paints Øystein Erlendsson as the most influential figure in the reforming of the Norwegian ideology and laws around the church and the Norwegian throne of the medieval ages. King Magnus Erlingsson would in his later years surrender the kingdom of Norway to God and Saint Olav the Holy. But that wouldn't be before many years later. In the 1160s, Magnus was a child around 8 years of age, and he was way more interested in playing with other children his same age than ruling Norway. This was to the satisfaction of Erling Skakke, who saw to the day-to-day rulings of the country in Magnus' stead. Erling Skakke could never trust Trøndelag again after having supported Sigurd Munn, Håkon Herdebrei and Sigurd Markusfostre against King Inge and him in the years prior. So Erling would keep to the west of Norway and Viken as his main seat of power. But there probably wouldn't be any more problems now that any opposition to the throne was dealt with. Right? Ding dong! Who's that? Coming up Skagerrak? Well, it's King Valdemar of Denmark, of course. Remember when Erling promised Valdemar Viken in exchange for the men he used to fight Håkon Herdebrei? Well, now Valdemar has teamed up with Trøndelag and is marching an army from the north and sailing a navy fleet from the south against Viken to collect what he is owed. Valdemar is praised as king at Borgarting, but the sources say that he didn't really do much else to claim Viken. Erling Skakke retaliates by siding with Valdemar's rival Buris Henriksson, the son of Henrik Skadelår, and performs a raid on Denmark in 1167. Valdemar answers with leading a new army at Viken in 1168, but doesn't really do much this time either. Erling now sees that he should seek peace with the king of Denmark, and Queen Mother Kristin Sigurdsdatter is called upon to fix Erling's mess. She travels to Denmark to meet her cousin and great friend. Here she manages to arrange a meeting between the Archbishop of Uppsala and the Bishop of Oslo, who reach a compromise where Viken will be under Danish rule, but Erling will have direct control of the area as Jarl. After this, it is believed that Kristin leaves Erling to travel to Constantinople with one Grim Rusle. The marriage between Kristin and Erling has not been described as a nice one. In the time of Erling's crusades, it is said that Kristin had a child with Sigurd Munn, that Erling Skakke brutally killed once learning of the child's origins. Furthermore, Erling had many mistresses during their marriage and even became the father later to the Bagler chief Sigurd Jarlsson. Kristin won't return to our history again. Hopefully, she lived a happy life with Grim. According to an Icelandic source, she died in 1178, unknown where, at the age of 53. The Danish-Norwegian squabble was finally settled, and Erling Skakke had even gotten the Jarl title out of it. Things looked good for Erling Skakke and Magnus Erlingsson. Maybe Norway would finally see an age of peace.
Smash that like button. Click that bell. Don't forget to click below and subscribe to SSS Studios. Da kan du putte det på hver video.